Oh, good morning. No, it's not good morning. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Healthy Hangout. And we have a great program tonight with Chuck. And he has a wonderful testimonial with Lisa. He's going to introduce Lisa. And I'm so happy you're all here. So, Chuck, take it away.
Thanks, Mitzi. So I want to introduce my friend, Lisa Silipino. Lisa and I are on a board of directors for Inspire Arts and Music together. And she has been on program for what, about 8 months, and done not that long, right? April, May. So, and she's just really done amazing on program. So I'm going to let her share her story with you. Lisa?
Cool. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me the space to share my story with you. I will say, as everyone in the world has been kind of watching the pandemic continue last year, like everyone else, I gained my quarantine 15, and I found myself at the heaviest I've ever been in my life at Christmas time. I was at 205 pounds. And I'm deciding that I need to make a change. And I had already started doing a little bit of exercise. I was cutting out the carbs, cutting out the fat, but I had done that before. I had gone up and down. And to say that that was enough to compel me to action would not be true. What really happened is I got a message from a good friend down in Louisiana. Louisiana was the first place that I worked after college. And a friend called me and said that one of my very first teammates had just passed away due to COVID. Both he and his wife were admitted to hospital just after New Year's, and his wife came home and he didn't. And his comorbidity was obesity. So that was one really shocking event, coupled with seeing my parents continue to lose their mobility and deteriorate their health as a result of the pandemic. Really put a fire under me. Now, I didn't seek out Optavia. I wasn't necessarily looking for a particular plan. I just happened to be talking to Chuck. We were talking about, Inspire Arts and Music stuff. And just something in the conversation kind of struck me just as we got towards the end. And I said, hey, I remember you telling me about, you and Doreen going on a health journey like 3 years ago when we like very first met. And that was the only conversation he and I ever had about it. And that conversation apparently left an impression on me that here we are, fast forward to 2021 in January. And I just asked him about it. And he just kind of took it in stride. And I will say, mid conversation, he switched gears. We did the self-assessment like instantaneously. I signed up, and my first, we ordered my first box of fuelings. And unlike other things that I try in my life, I didn't ask a million questions, maybe a few dozen, but not a million. I didn't do hours of research. I just trusted. I trusted Chuck, and I trusted myself. And 2 weeks ago, I started transition. I'm on day 201 since I started the program. And today I'm hovering around about 147 pounds. I have not been this size since the 3rd grade. So how did I do it? Well, I stuck to plan. I stuck to plan, I will say 90% of the time, because you're in a pandemic. I didn't have a whole lot of other options to go out and dine. I kept walking, and I was doing my yoga. I have added meditation to my practice, which has really helped me with the stop, challenge, and choose. Doing that with a few breaths seems to make the difference for me. I've also recently started running, and last Thursday I completed completed my first 5K running down in Cambridge, and that was a lot of fun. And so going forward, what are some of the things I've learned? So I wrote down 3 things to share with you. One, I always keep Jell-O, Ready Whip, because that's my little cheat, a little squirt of Ready Whip. Celery, pickles, and plain almonds on hand. These are my go-to for when I just think I need something. I've also decided to move every day. Whether it's 10 minutes or 2 hours, it doesn't matter. Whether it's yoga, walking, running, jumping in place, 7-minute in high intensity routine, it doesn't matter. I just have to do something. And I will say this is a significant mindset shift for me, because I used to think I got to do an hour of aerobics, or I got to go to this class, and I got to do this, I got to go for a 30-minute run. No, 10 minutes or 2 hours, it doesn't matter. I just have to move. And then the third thing that I learned is that the energy that I feel now and the ease at which I pass through my days, it isn't worth the trade-off for that sugary sweet that's calling my name. Now, when I do choose to have a piece of my mom's homemade blueberry buckle, I also know that I'm going to need a nap later in the day. This I just observe about where I am right now. Or I'm going to choose not to be at my best probably the day after. And I wasn't aware of that in my health before I started this program. So here I am. I really appreciate the opportunity to be at my best health that I've ever been. I feel like I'm living my best life today. And I look forward to whatever tomorrow is going to bring. Thank you so much for giving me this space to share with you. Chuck, shall I pass it back to you?
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was amazing. You're an amazing woman, and your dedication, commitment, focus, and what we've learned together and what you've taught me in this journey has been absolutely amazing. So it's kind of woven in through my presentation that's coming up. So let me screen share. So the LifeBook, it only came out 2 years ago. And, when we first started 4 years ago, this didn't exist for us. And, we did well. But I really think that the LifeBook is a game changer. And it's such a powerful tool. And it has so many benefits. And I want to walk you through some of the things I've learned through it. And much of what I've learned through this, I've learned through working with Lisa Silipino and other folks like her. But she really truly is the model in how we work through the LifeBook more than any of my other clients. So why is it not going to the next screen? Oh, there we go. So we'll cover what's in the LifeBook. Why should you use it? And then how do you use it? And what do the elements look like? Or what's the structure of this book? And the big aha moment. And yeah, so you'll see the aha. All right, so what is it? Why should I use it? There's a lot of words here, but in a nutshell, it's giving you the tips and hints and advice. It's that companion guide to help you on your journey. It's really all about what story is unique to you, right? Everybody writes in their LifeBook, and what they write in there is not like anybody else's. People come to the table initially saying, I need to lose weight. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's the superficial thing that motivates or drives people to the table. But the reality is, when you're on that health journey, it's changing, and it's changing constantly. And there are so many other aspects to it. And beyond hydration and the sleep and the exercise and activity levels and whatnot, but the mindset, like Lisa mentioned earlier, and really understanding why am I doing what I'm doing? How is this really helping me, et cetera. And as you move through the LifeBook, your journey is changing as you're going through it. And if you go back around again, you'll find a completely different second act when you go through it a second time. And it's a really powerful tool. But it helps you track both your progress, your setbacks, and most importantly, it helps you to reflect on what's most meaningful to you. Dr. A really asked some insightful questions, and more time should be spent stepping back, reflecting, thinking about those questions, and thinking about your answers in a deep and meaningful way, and asking why, and then asking why again. And that's where you get the most benefit out of this. And in order to do that, you really do need to be patient. And it really allows a mechanism for you and your coach to engage in a more meaningful way. And it's absolutely true with every one of my clients that really uses the LifeBook, and some do and some don't. The conversation we have, the more meaningful, deeper level of conversations we have is just such a more powerful relationship between us, and really helps us move forward. There we go. So how do you use it, right? It's a companion guide. It's self-paced, one page at a time, right? You go as fast as you can go or as slow as you can go. There's no race. Dr. A has some guidelines around it. But as long as you open it, write your name in it, close it, and start to make a habit every day. I'm going to read a few pages. I'm going to get to the next section. I'm going to write something up. I'm going to talk to my coach about it. And you develop a habit of using the LifeBook on a regular basis. Just take it one page at a time. I know it looks ominous, but it's really not. There's more time in there to spend thinking and reflecting and writing your answers in a thoughtful, meaningful way. But each element has a central theme, a goal, and a review of the principle at the end of each one of those. And as you're going through that, with your coach, the idea is to master an element before you move on. So you really should work with your coach at the end of each element, or maybe every two. Now, there are 26 elements, and they take roughly 1 to 3 weeks each to complete. And we say roughly, Dr. A has a recommendation. This one's a little shorter, simpler, maybe takes a week. This one maybe should take you 3, but it's really all about building the habit around that element. What actions are you taking from that element, and how do you want to incorporate those into your day-to-day life? And it might take a little bit. If you try to do 3, 4, 5 elements all in a week and incorporate 6 or 7 different, changes all at the same time, that might be overwhelming. So the recommendation is, take your time. If you can go a little faster, go a little faster. If you want to go a little slower, go a little slower. There's no race. But the intention is that if you do them roughly 1 every 2 weeks, it's 26. It takes about a year to get through the LifeBook. So when you look at this as, oh, I have a year to do this, now it's not so overwhelming anymore. Right? It's just little chunks at a time. But it really is a chronicle of that first year, and really helps you to keep focused. And then the other thing that it does is it gives you a deep enough understanding to adjust your habits and take actions. But if you want to really know more about the biology, the chemistry, the science behind it, Dr. A is very good about saying, for more information, see this in the Habits of Health, this section in the Habits of Health book. So for folks who might be NPs or on a deeper health journey, a more scientific-based health journey, go read Dr. A's book, and he points you to it. So I recommend to my clients that you really focus on the LifeBook first, and you'll you'll weave your way through Dr. A's Habits of Health through the LifeBook. So how are they structured? Each one starts out by setting goals and being clear on why that element matters, right? So like we talk about on the health assessment, or we talk about on your health journey, the why is so important. It really is the thing that helps to keep you motivated and focused. You write about your experiences, what you've learned, tips and advice, references the main Habits of Health book, and allows you the time to master each element, so you're not rushing through. And then the aha moment, right? So, it covers healthy mind, healthy body, healthy finances, being clear on your why, what you want to accomplish. But when you look at it after the introduction, with each element, you have your why, your what, your how, and then what I call the aha moment is element 4, the mindset. And I've always felt this was the most important thing. And Dr. A was asked this on stage in Atlanta, and they said, which element is most important? And he said, element 4, mindset. And I want to share one of Lisa's stories. Actually, I have 2 of Lisa's stories on here. So one was, she got to the mindset element and said, oh my goodness, it's not a diet. And, as much as we had talked about it, once you get through element 4, it really does flip a switch in your head and you say, aha, I start to get it. After element 4, you can start to jump around. And, I have many folks who are in AA and on the 12-step program, not Lisa. But I have many folks who are, and we'll jump right to chapter 16 after chapter 4, and we'll go to addictive foods and behaviors. And that's what's really most important to them. For someone else who says, hey, I really want to, climb Mount Kilimanjaro, like my cousin wanted to do, we jumped to 17 and 18 on activity for NEAT and EAT. And so it really is all about where the person is in their journey and where they want to go next. So you can bounce around. You can absolutely do it in order. There's nothing wrong with that either. But the other big aha moment there is Dr. A doesn't talk about food really until element 8. It's the entire beginning of the book is really about understanding and developing the proper mindset and understanding how the mind works and how the whole program works together. And the feelings are simply a tool, the healthiest way to get to your goal and help you get there. The program's not about the feelings. The feelings are simply a tool to help you get there. This really is all about mindset. And Lisa's other aha moment was, hey, there's no talk about food until chapter 8, element 8. And I went, yeah, that's right. And she's not the only one who's had these observations, but it's just when you go through the elements, you work through them with your coach. I can honestly say I've learned an incredible amount working with Lisa and my other clients, but the deep, meaningful conversations we've had, I don't know that we would have gotten to those level of conversations without the insightful questions that Dr. A posed and caused us to really reflect and think about the different questions for ourselves. And even the answers to some of our own questions led us, Lisa and I became partners in this. I said, well, here's what I wrote. And she's like, well, here's what I wrote. And we actually fed off each other. And it was an incredible learning experience for the both of us. So I thank Lisa for that. And many of my other clients who were, have also done really well. There's no doubt the LifeBook is one of the life-changing tools here, game-changing tools. So if you're not using it, I implore you to just pick it up and start. If you are using it, that's fantastic. Keep going. You will learn so much through going through that. And that's all I have.
That was great, Chuck. That was so good. The LifeBook is just it is such an amazing tool. And does anyone have any, we have several minutes. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments about the life book, their experience with the life book, things that Chuck said? I have a client who said, well, I said, oh, so you finished element something, whatever it was. And she says, Mitzi, you never really finish an element. You're always incorporating the element into, and you build upon it and build upon it. It was like, it was just so great, you know. So does anyone have any comments or thoughts?
I do.
Go, Spay.
Well, first, I want to just kudos to Lisa. Your story was so beautiful. First of all, deepest condolences for your loss. So touching, and I'm so sorry, but you have come such a long way, and it's almost as if you did it in honor of your loss, and it truly is remarkable. And your story was so heartfelt and so genuine, and the connection between you and Chuck, well, that speaks volumes too. So thank you for sharing that. And Chuck, what an insightful overview of the life book. I'm going to go back to mine thanks to you. So thank you. It was really great. And I've really got to empower my clients to go back to it too. Beth, we have to go back to our life books.
I have always referred to my life book from
Great.
really the beginning of my journey. And I guess what I would say too is I felt like Dr. A was holding my hand in, you know, in the way that it's written.
Yes.
And so I think it's a really valuable tool. Not everybody wants to take advantage of it, but I encourage it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So another
Okay.
example was, 4 years ago, Doreen and I lost our weight. And if I had the life book 4 years ago, I would have written almost everything would have been about weight. And 2 years ago, when the life book came out, I picked it up. I didn't have a weight loss story. That weight wasn't a thing. And what I was writing in there was at a very, very different level, but it was still, it was even more important that I did it again, or I did it for the first time without the weight loss piece of it. Because it was all focused on where I want to go with my mind, but also where I want to go with my physical activity, taking yoga, stretching, strengthening, toning, those kinds of things. That's what it was all focused around. It had nothing to do with weight loss. So, you might write this year about your weight loss journey, but next year you might write about your strength and conditioning journey. This year for me, it's all about fulfillment as opposed to, and I did a talk on this earlier in the year in January, the difference between success and fulfillment. And Dr. A talks about that later in the life book. That's what really struck me in December when I got to that element. And I said, aha, that's 2021 for me, fulfillment, not success. So everybody's on their own journey and in a different place, and each element might strike somebody differently than another.
Who else has something to share? Oh, Jada.
I think, I totally agree with Chuck that the life book kind of draws out a level of vulnerability, I think, by the questions. And if you can answer the questions honestly, and then talk with your coach, your mentor about it. Last year would have been about weight to me, at least to begin with. But towards the end of the year, it became clear that the weight was more of a symptom than a cause. And this year I've lost a lot of mental weight. And it's just been such a liberating thing. And, we can't be encouraged enough to go back to the life book and to answer those questions and to answer them ongoing, like Mitzi was talking about, because it spurs thought that we might not otherwise be confronted with.
Anyone else?
I just want to make the comment that I'm glad that you brought this up again, Chuck, because it's so important that we really stress the life book. You know, sometimes, especially with summertime, it really gets buried. And so what a perfect timing to start talking about it again.
Excellent. Thank you.
So thank you.
Kim,
I just want to say that I'm going through the life book, jumping around chapters to chapters, going through the certification test. And it's an amazing book. I mean, there's so much there. There's so much content there. And as I'm skimming and reading and I'm just grabbing, I'm really getting into it, you know. So once I finish that and I can go through it more thoroughly, I've got bits and pieces that I can kind of pull together. And I've just learned a great appreciation for all of the work that he put into that book and all that it has to offer. So anyway, thank you, Chuck, for going through that tonight.
You're welcome. I'm going to expect to see some of those themes in your yoga classes.
Hey, Nancy,
Well-
can I just mention that, because I know that you mention this sometimes on our site, on our support site, but for $6, you can have it spiraled. And it's just so easy to open it up. And when you're contemplating something, like when he goes over the breathing exercises, you can leave it open and you can kind of follow along. And I just have found that to be the best $6 I think I've spent in a long time. Really, really worth it. Staples.
that's great. It makes such a difference. And as we kind of close down for our clients that are on here, and coaches are going to stay on, I would just reiterate, you know, one of the things that Chuck said is that, you know, if you do 1 or 2 pages a day, it really is about maybe 10 or 15 minutes max. And you could be doing it with having your coffee, your first fueling. There, you know, you just find a place where you can habit stack, taking that habit of whatever that is in the morning, maybe, or in the evening or at lunchtime, and stack reading a page or 2. And, you know, once you start getting into it, it keeps you so connected to your health journey each and every day. So it's really, it's such a valuable tool. Chuck, you did a wonderful job. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your heart. You know, it's a great story and it's a great relationship, as Faye said, with you and Chuck. It's wonderful. And, you know, as coaches, we're clients, but also we love coaching our clients on the life book. It really does make the whole thing so meaningful. So with that, we will see everybody next week on our Healthy Hangout. And those of you who are coaches, please stay on. And also tomorrow night at 8:30, 8 o'clock, whatever time it is, we have a wonderful program for helping people get back to school and create health and ritual in their families. So the information will be on Healthy Friends, that Zoom.
8:30.
8:30, thank you, Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Bye, everybody.